Hey everybody, it's Rob from Rob's Game Group, and in this video I'm going to talk about gaming supplies and where you can get them on the cheap. So a lot of times when we talk about gaming and what you need to play a game, we just kind of brush over a lot of stuff and oh, you just need the book and some dice, or book, dice, and a mini, blah blah blah. But there are a lot of other gaming supplies out there that are readily available, very cheap, and easy to get your hands on. And I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person that wherever my wife drags me, whatever store we go to, whether it's Target or Target or Walmart or whatever department we go into, when we're looking at stuff, the way my mind works, I look at almost everything and go, well, how can I use this in a game? And you'd be amazed at the stuff you can find like that that's useful outside of just your book and dice. One of the hidden gems of places that I love to go, and I used to hate going in this place, or at least these types of places, until my wife talked me into going into a Dollar Tree, a new one that they built down the road from our house. And I went in there with a different perspective. I had gotten back into mini gaming, and I started looking at the different stuff they had. Well, everything in the store is $1. Now around here they're called Dollar Tree. Sometimes they're called Everything's a Dollar Store. I don't know what they might be called where you live, but those stores that sell everything for $1 or $1 each. Anyway, you can go into one of these stores, and I do this. I go into our local one right down the road once a week, sometimes twice a week. It just depends. And yes, they have the drinks and snacks and stuff like that you can get really cheap. Stay away from the cold food. I don't mess with that. But they have lots of other items for $1 a piece that are useful to us as gamers. And I have a box here with some stuff that I picked up on my last trip to the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to show off these just to kind of talk about some of the stuff you can get and what you can use it for. And just to give you an idea, if you haven't thought about going to the Dollar Tree and looking for some things you might want to look out for that could be very useful to you as a gamer. So I'm going to change my camera angle in a minute so that I can show you better what I'm talking about. But before I do that, if you enjoy the kind of videos I put up, reviews, unboxings, just rambling, whatever, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give us a like, and you can communicate with us through comments on these videos, or now I say us because it is Rob's Game Group. I have members of my game group on here sometimes, and they're all members of the Facebook page, which you can go to. I'll put a link in the description for that. You can contact us on there. But yeah, I'll be right back. Let me change the camera angle and we'll get started. Alright, we are back. So one of the first things that I grabbed a bunch of when I went into the dollar store, I grab one just about every time I go. These little 2-subject spiral bound notebooks. They're fantastic. You go to Walmart or Kroger or anywhere like that, you're going to pay $3 or $4 for one of these things. Sometimes maybe $2, whatever, but you can get these at the dollar store for $1 a piece. I have these sitting all around the game room. I use them for show notes for YouTube. I use them for notes on games I'm writing or designing. I use them, all of my miniature games, I put one of these in with the miniature games, and I use it each game. I go in and do a new page when I'm playing, put down who I played, and keep track of my XP and treasure and things like that when we're playing Frostgrave or Stargrave or whatever. They're just really handy. Maybe you're just playing role-playing games and you need to grab an extra notebook to have just a dedicated notebook for your RPG on game night. For $1, you can't beat it. Here was one my wife hated. So these came in a 2-pack. Giant spiders. And they're kind of fuzzy, but they look pretty cool. And when I say giant, I mean giant. These would be really big to use in D&D or Frostgrave. But like Frostgrave especially doesn't really have base sizes, so you could have monsters of any size in there. But giant spiders, I thought, it's a 2-pack for $1. So this is what they look like when you buy them. I brought one home and dusted it with white primer, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do some highlights and touch up a little bit on the eyes and things like that. And I'm making giant ice spiders for Frostgrave, and they're creepy as hell looking. You can put them all over stuff, or you could take these and you could put them on terrain and like glued to the side of a wall of terrain, and then paint them up like stone or whatever. And it could be something from a spider goddess, whatever. But stuff like that's really useful and dirt cheap. Speaking of terrain, they have lots of little figurines at the Dollar Tree that you can get, whether they're wrestling figures. They have My Little Pony, they have superheroes. Here recently they've started getting in Masters of the Universe figures. Now I have a whole set of these, but I bought extra ones, and like I plan to take this Skeletor out of here, and I'm gonna build a piece of terrain, a podium to put him on, and then repaint the whole thing and make him into a big statue, just for fun. I figured for $1 I could make a cool piece of terrain out of it, and it'd be kind of neat. For my modern games, for Last Days, they've got these sets that are like this. They come like, hold on, let me get all the stuff here. They've got these sets. It's like $1. Okay, everything's $1. But I've got an ambulance here. I've got barricades, do not cross barricades, and these are all, they'll be sized just perfectly for Last Days. These guys are kind of trash. They're too big for the Last Days game. They also are way out of scale with the, like most plastic army men are. These are firefighters. There's a fire dog in there. That's kind of cool. But these I plan on just chunking, unless I have, like, I could give them to a kid to play with, or maybe you want to use them for test painting some colors or something like that. But having these cool little signs to put out on your roadways, and then I'll probably take this ambulance and throw like a wash on it, maybe some mud or something up the sides, and then throw them on the table, and you got instant vehicles. And they have other ones too. They have like fire vehicles, rescue vehicles. You can also find regular cheap cars like this. You buy a bunch of these, run some washes over them, maybe a little bit of dry brushing, and you got perfect vehicles for Last Days or another modern game you might be playing. And you're spending $1 a piece for a whole packet of this stuff, because it comes with all of this for $1. So that's pretty cool, pretty useful stuff. And the last thing I got on this trip was these. They have a pretty intense craft section. I'm going to open this up a little bit and dump some of this out. And these are little, supposed to be like gemstones. What I'm going to do with them, there's some blue ones, some green ones, some clear ones. I'm going to take a bunch of these and take some bases and glue them down on the bases. And these are just going to be huge chunks of ice that are sitting around, and I turn them into scatter terrain for Frostgrave. And I could probably make 10 pieces of scatter terrain out of this one bag I bought for $1. I could also position them different ways, glue them onto a base, and make they could be scatter terrain crystals for a crystalline forest for Stargrave. Very useful stuff. It's great for making your own scatter terrain, and like I said, you get a bag of this stuff for $1. So this is just a few of the items that I have found over my trips there, and I wanted to point it out in case anybody hadn't thought about going by a Dollar Tree and checking it out. The Dollar Tree also has role-playing dice for $1, but mine here hasn't had them yet. When they do, I'm probably going to buy like 10 sets of them just to have the extra D20s and stuff for Frostgrave. But there's actually a whole lot more there you can use. Just go in, walk around, look up and down the toy aisle, look up and down the arts and crafts aisle. You'll be amazed at the stuff that you can find in there for $1 that you can use for your modeling or accessories to your games or whatever. And let's face it, whether it's role-playing games, miniature games, or whatever, these games are not super cheap, and it costs money to do this stuff. So every way that you can look at it to find a way to cut cost is a win-win in my book, which is why I'm making this video, because I found a way to cut some cost, and I'm gonna continue to go back every week, and I might make more videos on some of the stuff, my finds from the Dollar Tree. But yeah, if you have a Dollar Tree or something like that near you and you found cool gaming stuff there, tell us about it in the comments or post about it on Rob's Game Group on Facebook. Till next time, good gaming and good hunting for terrain stuff.